the United States of violating the 1967 Tlatelolco Treaty, which declared Latin America and the Caribbean as nuclear weapons-free zones. The heads of state warned the international community about Washington's aggressive actions and said that they undermine the peace of Latin America and the Caribbean. President Maduro also affirmed that Venezuela will not accept any supremacist attitude from anyone nor any interference in the region. The head of state praised the international solidarity with Venezuela and highlighted, in contrast, the isolation of the U.S. government's aggressive policy. And the Venezuelan Ministry of Defense announced the results of the operation of the Bolivarian Armed Forces in response to U.S. aggressions against the country. Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez highlighted the people's response to President Nicolás Maduro's call to arms in defense of the homeland. He also described the day as a success in the face of the media counter-revolution, which creates lies with the aim of making people believe that the country functions as a narco-state. Padrino Lopez emphasized that the country remains firm and is working to combat any aggression. And trade between Venezuela and Colombia reports growth in Venezuelan exports of up to 92%. Caracas' trade with Bogotá is notable for the export of products such as iron and steel castings, fertilizers, aluminum, fuels, oils, and organic chemicals. Venezuela is promoting the diversification of its exports, incorporating new products and strengthening its international trade relations. And one of the key initiatives is the entry of the military industry into the export market. In this context, the director of the Pro-Colombia agency, Carlos Luna, highlighted the need for the Colombian business sector to visit this sister nation in order to evaluate its industrial capacity, identify new business opportunities, and strengthen bilateral trade alliances. And we go now to Colombia, as the historical PAC movement has 10 pre-candidates for the presidential elections to be held in March of 2026. The historical PAC members have until September of 2026 to register new candidates. The internal consultation will be held on October 26th, and the winner will be nominated as the official presidential candidate and will head the party's list for Congress. It should be noted that the coalition strategy focuses on consolidating the unity of the left wing, combining the programmatic debate in the internal campaign with citizen mobilization in the streets and promoting a candidate who synthesizes President Petro's administration and also emerging social demands. And in other news, on Wednesday, the governments of Mexico and Brazil strengthened bilateral cooperation as part of the action plan to mitigate the impact of tariffs imposed by the United States. During his official visit to Mexico, Brazilian Vice President Geraldo Alckmin celebrated the signing of 2 bilateral cooperation agreements, which are expected to generate new opportunities in several economic sectors. Among the agreements were a declaration of intent on biofuels and a deal with the Mexican Ministry of Economy to improve the effectiveness of relations between Mexican and Brazilian companies. Business leaders and authorities of both nations agreed that the current international situation that is characterized by trade tensions with the U.S. provides an exceptional opportunity to boost bilateral ties. In the United States, the director of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, Susan Monarez, was fired after less than a month in the job. The White House informed on Wednesday that Monarez's contract was terminated after she refused to resign amid pressure by the nation's top health official, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Her lawyers responded with a statement saying that Monarez was being targeted for protecting the public over serving a political agenda. Furthermore, they stressed that the decision evidences the systematic dismantling of public health institutions, the silencing of experts, and the dangerous politicization of science. Her departure coincided with the resignation of at least 4 top CDC officials amid tensions over vaccine policies and public health directives. Amid a corruption scandal that has significantly affected its image, new audios revealed that Javier Milei's government admitted to have overpaid for medicines purchased by the National Disability Agency. These are the first results from the audit that the executive carried out over the National Disability Agency, or ANDIS, after removing its former chief, Diego Spagnuolo, for leaked accusations denouncing overpricing and bribes. According to the new data, payments made by the agency for one drug in particular were 27% higher than what the Ministry of Health usually pays for it. Despite the fact that the government has in this way admitted to the overpayment, Milei continues to insist on merely stating that everything that was said about the case were lies. Venezuela President Nicolás Maduro accused the United States of violating the 1967 Tlatelolco Treaty, which declared Latin America and the Caribbean as nuclear weapons-free zones. The heads of state warned the international community about Washington's aggressive actions and said that they undermine the peace of Latin America and the Caribbean. President Maduro also affirmed that Venezuela will not accept any supremacist attitude from anyone, nor any interference in the region. The head of state praised the international solidarity with Venezuela and highlighted, in contrast, the isolation of the U.S. government's aggressive policy. And the Venezuelan Ministry of Defense announced the results of the operation of the Bolivarian Armed Forces in response to U.S. aggressions against the country. Defense Minister Vladimir Padrino Lopez highlighted the people's response to President Nicolás Maduro